Guys, we have a very, very special guest here. Okay, he is a voice actor. He is a comedian. He is a fellow streamer like myself. We have Adin Rudd, the Stellaron Hunter. Sam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I know my natural voice sounds so much like Sam's. Like, yeah. Nah, he's like at the very base of my chest. He's down here. He's in this area. That's where you get him from. So yeah.
See,
But
and
yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm someone who, one day I hope to, dabble in the, voice acting genre.
Mhm.
People have told me, like, hey, you have a nice voice. I'm like, thank you. For like reading and things of that nature, but I wonder what more I can do with it. So, perhaps we can touch on that a little bit later in the
Oh
conversation,
yeah.
but that was awesome.
Oh yeah. Sure thing. Awesome. Yeah.
But let me ask. I don't know if you can tell. I got a huge smile on my face. I am very amped for your performance, and what we've seen so far. But
Mhm.
how did you get started in voice acting?
So, that's actually kind of a funny one. So it was so I've been pursuing this for about I started pursuing this about 13 years ago,
Okay.
and I can tell you like the exact like moment even when it happened. It was so I was 19 at the time. I'm one of the few voice actors that you'll find is actually native to the Los Angeles area.
Okay.
Most people who pursue this are transplants or they stay where they're located, like all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of hard to find LA natives out here. But so yeah, I was born and raised out here. And so when I first got out of high school, I had like no direction at all. Like I didn't know what I wanted to pursue, what kind of things I wanted to do, like work wise. So I was at a community college, Citrus College over in Glendora, California, and I was an undeclared major. I was in the anime club at my community college.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah, Citrus College Anime Club represent now.
We made it. I
but
like it.
but so every year they would go to Anime Expo, and I had never been to a con before that, and all my friends were like, "Hey, you should come out. Like we're going." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was kind of the impressions guy of the group. Like,
Okay.
I remember like I ran for student council in high school with like a George W. Bush impression, and like I didn't win. I went to kind of a right wing high school, but but I also I could do like all the Family Guy voices and stuff like that. And so my friends were like, "Hey, you do voices. You should try out for like they do a voice acting competition. It was called AX Idol at the time."
Okay.
So I tried out. I had no acting training, so I didn't do very well. I basically just shouted my way through a monologue because yelling is acting, right? And no, it's not. But it was one of those things where it was like I really enjoyed doing it, and I got to meet a lot of the other people that were pursuing this that weekend, and they were all like it was like a really cool group of people, really chill, not a lot of egos, just fun group of people. So I was like, okay, I like doing this. I like the other people doing this. And I know where my kind of aptitudes as a person lie.
Okay.
So I know that this is a thing that if I worked at it, I would get really good at it. Because like it just kind of fits a lot of the things that I'm already good at. So I finally picked a major. I was a theater major. I did a couple classes at my community college, eventually transferred to Cal State Fullerton, got my bachelor's in theater there. While I was at Cal State Fullerton in 2013, so a couple years after that AX Idol, the same company that did AX Idol, Bang Zoom Entertainment out here in LA, did open auditions for an anime called Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic.
Okay.
And I tried out, and this time I actually had training. So they called me back. I got to go into the studio, and they started like giving me stuff here or there, and that's kind of how everything started. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. We got some lore. I am always here for the lore. That was pretty cool. It's like you knew, what you wanted. You went into it, and I'm so happy to hear that it was very welcoming, to
Mhm.
you, because a lot of times starting something new, there's egos or some
Oh yeah.
hills that you have to climb that seem unnecessary. But I'm very happy to hear that wasn't the case.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's also like I find myself very lucky that like I had that moment of clarity at age 19,
Yeah,
because like there are
yeah.
people that are like way older than that are still looking for that moment. So like it was definitely kind of a lucky thing for me to experience, but yeah.
And I get that 100%. I mean, I'm still in sales. That I call that my side hustle. This is my career. 'Cause I
Mhm.
absolutely love
Good
content creation.
mentality. Good
Yes,
mentality.
thank you, thank you. It's how I stay sane.
Mhm. Fair enough. I mean, when I was like starting off with the voiceover thing, I was like doing Uber driving on the side.
Yeah,
So and, like, but I always like I never went into it like when people would be like, "Oh, so what do you do?" I would never say like, "Oh, I drive for Uber." That was never my answer. So yeah, that's always a good answer to have to those questions.
I
So
like
yeah.
it. Well, let me ask. How did you get the role of Sam the Stellaron Hunters? That is an elite group of badasses, and you might perhaps be. Let me cover Blade's ear. You might be one of the most badass on the team. But let's
Yes.
hear.
uh, so so I remember I got the email that I booked it like May of last year. This is a while ago that I found
Okay.
out about this. We didn't even like I remember like the first thing I recorded for him obviously was it was the trailer, I forget what it was called. It was like the Jepella Rebellion Myriad Celestia trailer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was like his first appearance. But yeah, it was. But that was really cool. But anyway, how I got the role? So, uh, yeah, it was so before the audition, obviously. So the guy who casts for, or one of the people who casts and directs for Honkai Star Rail is a guy by the name of Phil Bach.
Okay.
One of my favorite directors in this industry to work with, and I had worked with him a lot before we worked together on Honkai. It was the first time I worked with him was years ago. It was on the Netflix original Transformers series, Transformers War for Cybertron.
Okay.
I voiced a character named Scrapface in that. So yeah.
That is awesome.
Uh, Thank you. He got a toy too. That was the cool part. That was the really cool part. So I have the action figure in my booth down the hall. But so yeah, we first worked together on that, and then I remember it was a couple of years before we worked together again, and it was on the game Smite.
Hmm.
And I was doing I did a skin of a character for him, and then he just started bringing me in more and more, and we started working on Smite more. We worked a bit on a game called Lost Ark together for a bit as well.
Phenomenal.
So yeah, so me and Phil had already worked together plenty, and I mean that's how I got access to the audition in the first place. It's just he knew what I was about, so he was like, "Oh yeah, this guy can handle it." So he sent it to me. I remember the audition like having kind of this like intensity to it, like
Yeah.
the specs having that, and it reminded me of a less like so probably the other character that I'm most known for is Beelzebub in Granblue Fantasy Versus, and Sam is like Beelzebub but doesn't want to be evil. I'll put it that way. Like
Okay.
yeah, he's a bit more complex, whereas Beelzebub is very much the like I want to destroy the world because I want to be the ruler of the world
I,
type. So yeah,
Beelzebub, I have some
but
mixed
yeah.
feelings towards you now because one of my friends mained him, and
Mm.
that was a frustrating time.
Yeah.
That was a frustrating time. Uh, I was like, bro, I don't know if we can keep doing this.
I still remember it was so I remember when Granblue Versus first launched, they did this big launch party event.
Yeah.
You could probably still find the stream somewhere. They had a few of us voice actors like play some exhibition matches against each other,
Okay.
like as our characters. And they had us get coached up by like a couple like pro fighting game players. So it was my team. So my team was me and Christina V, and our coach was Justin Wong.
That's legendary.
And I remember going up to him and being like, he was like, "Okay, have you played the game?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, like I feel like Beelzebub, like I feel like he plays kind of like this because he has this like teleport function. So I feel like he wants to like melee and like back off and stuff like that." And he goes, "Okay, literally the opposite of that." And I got paired against Faye Mata, which, if you know anything about voice actors, Faye is an insanely good fighting game player.
Okay.
So she just wiped the floor with me. But I got one on her. So that's fine with me. So,
Look,
but yeah.
I'm here for it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love when, you guys get involved in like the show or the game or the community. But, it sounds like you had quite a few roles that were, I guess I could say, not your performance was robotic, but the casting was like, you got Transformers, right? There's the robot cybernetic element there, and then you got Sam. Let me ask, what parts of you did you bring into this performance? What parts of you are represented in Sam?
That's one of the harder questions, because it's just interesting, because he's very different from my normal like day-to-day personality. Like, it's anybody who's been following me on Twitter since the role launched, like, has been like, this dude's like super serious in the game and he's just freaking shit posting like all the time.
I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, it's fun, but it's just like, yeah, it's like, I mean, I've done stand-up comedy. I tend to be a goofy guy. So like, Sam is not funny at all. Like, he's very serious, very like intense. And the thing is like, so Sam is actually like certain parts of my personality that don't come out very often. Like,
okay,
it's the times where I'm like a little more reserved, because I tend to be very boisterous and extroverted and stuff like that. And I think the other thing is, with him specifically, is, so when I was in high school, like mostly when I was a teenager, I could have a bit of an anger management problem here or there. But like nothing too serious, but yeah. But Sam is interesting because like I feel like he's always like trying to hold back that intensity.
Okay.
Because he knows that once he lets it out, everyone's dead. Like, yeah. So he needs to like kind of like control that sometimes. And I feel like that's a big part of it as well. So yeah, I would say that's probably my answer for that. But yeah, he's very different from my standard everyday behavior, but it's interesting tapping into parts of my personality that don't get explored very often, so yeah.
Would you say that it was cathartic, perhaps?
In some places, yes. Especially in mild spoilers, there's a scene at the beginning of 2.1 where it's like between Sam and Acheron, and they're having this whole conversation, and there's a monologue that Sam kind of has at the end of it that it's so good. It was like probably one of my favorite moments with this character was that.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, not to drop spoilers, but it was like dreams. The whole patch is dreams, so that's not a spoiler. But it was about like dreams and how you feel, and then it was that we're gearing up for the moment, and I was like, okay, it's about to get intense, but it did in a different way. So I was like, okay, let's
it's
see
not
where
like
this goes.
It's not like Sam like jumps out and starts trying to burn Acheron alive or something like that. Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's go. And I was like, oh, I'm still here for this. That was pretty cool.
That's honestly one of the things I've really liked about Star Rail as a game, is just the writing and the character moments and the humanity of the story is all just fantastic. Like, it's just so, there's just so much depth. Like, I love it. So, yeah.
And I've been a gacha gamer for quite some time. Don't tell my wife, because she probably won't like hearing that. But but I can say, like, this game has so much weight to its story, because most gacha games are just carried by the characters, the looks, and the combat, right? Which is great, which is awesome. But this vehicle to get you to the characters, and you feel so invested. You're like, man, I care about this guy. Or, you know, I
Mhm.
care about this girl. Like that is awesome. And I love seeing that you guys, you know, are letting us in, you know, through social media of like your
Mhm.
personalities, and you get to see like that duality, right? You got Sam,
Mhm.
super serious and like, oh, burn it all. And then we got you who's posting. You know, doing like the Mickey Mouse deal. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh,
I will say in regards to the Mickey Mouse thing, so it's becoming kind of a thing, and I might have to retire this voice for this reason. But because I can do a halfway decent Mickey Mouse impression,
yeah.
I keep getting fans thinking that I'm the voice of Clocky, and I
Yes.
don't want to take any credit away from Nico's performance because
Yeah.
he did fantastic as Clocky, and I don't want people thinking, oh, he does a decent Mickey Mouse, that means he could do Clocky. No, it's not the same thing at all. And he's, yeah, so that's like, I'm kind of considering retiring that for that reason, because I don't want people to take away from his thunder. So
Oh,
yeah.
and I can definitely understand that. And I love that, you know, you guys have that camaraderie and respect for each other within that
Mhm.
field. That's really cool to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, we chat all the time. Like we have kind of like group messages and stuff like that. And it's just a really, it's like one of the most like tight knit casts that I've ever been a part of. Like everybody's really cool. We're all just fucking around, having fun most of the time. Like just yeah, it's very light. Like no egos. Everybody's really cool. Like everybody's really chill. Like yeah, you know.
That is phenomenal. Well, let me ask, how do you feel about your interactions with the Starville community and your place within it? You know, like us regular everyday players.
So, uh, so when, so when you hear about like certain, like I feel like whenever somebody brings up any like insert X fan base here,
Yeah.
like whenever the internet talks about a fan base as a whole, it's always like a super negative thing. It's like, oh, this fan base is crazy. This fan base is intense. Maybe this fan base is racist. I'm not saying any of this about Star Rail, obviously. But but Star Rail fans have been absolutely like just so much fun. Like I've had zero issues with any Star Rail fans. No over the top criticism. Very memey group of people too.
Yes.
Like just like
Yes.
the memes have been incredible. Like and yeah, it's just a really like fun community. Like people are just here for a good time. Like there's not a lot of like fandom wars over like how dare you say this character is this way, this character is like when
You've
I
missed that. I'm a guide maker. I get that every day. I'm like, okay, bro.
yeah, I'll say it was because I feel like we first came into contact because I made a tweet saying that Gwenifit is best girl, but
Yes.
and I expected a lot more blowback from that, but I got like next to none. Like it was almost everybody was like, okay, I could respect that. Like yeah, so yeah,
Because
but
he's awesome.
oh yeah, it's personality. That's the reason why Gwenifit is best girl. It's just the personality. Like yeah.
I rock with her because she's a fellow streamer and content creator like myself. So I'm like, I get the hustle. You know, you got to catch. I am a terrible influencer.
Yeah.
I think I'm like A1. You know, when it comes times to like streaming, but as far as like videos and everything else, I'm working on it. I've been told by my agent, they're like, yo, bro, come on. It's like you're leaving things out there. But
yeah, content creation is so difficult sometimes. It's like sometimes like you're just like spinning gold, and other times you're just like, I have to post today.
Yeah,
like
because I'll post this on TikTok and it'll blow up, and I'll post this on the same thing on YouTube, and then vice versa. I'm like, I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah,
and
algorithms are weird. Is basically
yeah. And I'm like in the weird spot where I'm I say elder millennium. I'm millennial. I'm 35. So like
okay.
I'm in the memes. I'm of the memes, but some stuff I'm like, I don't know what that means. I gotta research that. Or my Discord, they call me dinosaur almost every day, and I threaten to ban them. But
I mean, I'm almost 32, so I'm a little younger. But I mean, I feel all of that super hard.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just like okay.
Yeah.
Well, to piggyback off of that, how much like overlap do you see in like content creation or streaming with voiceover work?
So it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people in voiceover and acting as a whole, honestly, uh, it sometimes it feels like we need to do every single job to get to do the acting job,
Okay.
because like it's like not even just in terms of like, okay, well, to publicize myself, I need to be more active on TikTok or Instagram or post things on Twitter and stuff like that, just to get people to know that I exist and get people to understand like who I am, what I represent, stuff like that. Uh it's I mean, like, if you look at like the on-camera crowd, it's even more intense, because it's like if you look at the way that most of these celebrities like find their big break, it's usually something they produced or wrote themselves.
Okay.
So like they're not just acting, they're also writing, possibly directing and producing and all of this different stuff. And it's just like, a lot of the time, like, just doing the job of being an actor feels like you need to know everyone else's job as well.
Okay.
Which is a good thing to know, honestly, because it helps you interact with the industry as a whole if you like know what everybody's going through. But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of how it definitely relates, because honestly, like, content creation kind of is part of being an actor and a voice actor and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because I tell people what you see is what you get, right? Like I got this
Mhm.
tattoo at the end of last year, right? This is DreddHound. This is me. This, like,
Mhm.
my name is Joshua, right?
Mhm.
Respect to my parents for the name that was given, right? But this is the name that I gave myself, but my community gave to me and
Mhm.
know me by. So I bring a lot of that to my content creation. I just have to dial it. I'm more of a reserved person. Uh,
Gotcha.
but when the camera's on, when the lights come on, I'm barking hound and I'm yelling, all that good jazz. And my wife is like, yeah, like, she's like, you're having a good time. Let it out. Go fully in.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get what you mean by that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is like, well, it's also like, there's some stuff that does have a more creative element, like the editing process has that like very like auteur kind of like perspective.
Hmm.
uh Whereas, like, I feel like streaming is like the act of streaming, like being on the camera and like doing your thing, is very similar to the acting career, because it's like, it's very improvisational. You're just kind of taking what comes at you.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of like pre-planned stuff that you're doing on your end. That even goes so much more for voiceover, because a lot of the time when we work on projects, we don't get the script until we walk in the booth. So
Okay.
we just got to be ready to roll with whatever gets thrown at us that day. So you got to be like a good improviser. You got to know how to do improv, that kind of stuff. And that applies so much to streaming as well, just from my experience. So yeah.
It's fun. Well, let me ask, is there a role in gaming, anime, not that we're trying to go after anyone's like jobs or anything, but perhaps like a different interpretation of something you may have, or it's like, hey, I want to play Goku, and this is the way I would approach the role. You know what I'm saying? Just some things like that.
Yeah. Um it's not so much like a specific, like, I'm not really like after any like super specific roles.
Yeah.
Usually, like, if I am, it is because like it is like in the moment of like, okay, I just did this audition, I just saw this script, I really want to do this and stuff like that. But it's never like, oh, I want to play this X legacy character here. I mean, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, I don't want to play legacy characters. I absolutely do. But they're like, that's not really my goal. It's more like there are projects that I really
Okay.
on. Like, I remember for forever, one of my bigger goals was to get in anything in the Borderlands series,
Okay.
and I've done that now. So, because I worked on Tiny Tina's Wonderland a couple years ago, I was one of the player character voices,
Yeah.
and good God, one of the most fun experiences of my life. Like, it was, those sessions are so goofy, improvisational. Like, we just fucked around the whole time. It was great. But yeah, in terms of like franchises that I definitely want to be a part of going forward, um, I would say a big one for me, because my favorite video game of all time, I would love to play. I would love to be in anything related to Diablo, because Diablo 2 is my favorite game of all time. It's, honestly anything Blizzard. But probably the biggest thing. So it's not a specific character, but it is a character archetype. I've been playing Magic the Gathering since I was 9 years old. I've gone out of state to tournaments. Like, I've been to places like,
TCG players.
like not just LA, but like I've been to like Denver, Phoenix, Seattle, Philadelphia, Vegas, San Jose, San Diego, like all over the place, for Albuquerque, for these Magic tournaments. And like, it was like a really huge part of my life for a long time. It still pretty much is. And so if I got the chance to voice a planeswalker in Magic Arena, that would be like
that's
yes,
awesome.
I would just stream that for like 3 months straight. Like, yeah.
See, I love that.
Yeah.
And see, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh guy. I traveled from state to state. It's a grind. When you go to these tournaments, they are long days.
Oh, yes, they are.
And people go like, oh yeah, we make the joke, oh, it's a children's card game. But no, the rules are intricate.
Oh yeah. No, I'll also say, like, I've only ever like made, because like, so I don't know if this is how it works for Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, but for Magic tournaments, the way it would work, I don't know if they still work, but the way it would work is like there'd be 9 rounds on the first day and 6 rounds on the second day. But to make the second day, you needed to go at least 7-2 on the first day.
You gotta sweat.
Yeah. I did that one time, and it was at GP Phoenix, like probably a decade ago. And that is like the most satisfying feeling ever when you pull that off. Like, yeah.
Because it's serious. It's a grind. You can't misplay. And then you're also, having that respect and camaraderie for your, opponent. It's a thing. No, that is the accomplishment.
Oh yeah, and then you get to day 2, and like I remember I played against, it was a Magic player. I think his name is Paul Rietzel, and he's like a Hall of Famer. Like, he's like one of like probably the top like 25, 30 greatest players of all time. And I got paired against him on that day 2, and I was just like, oh, this is real. Oh shit. I lost, but I did take him to game 3. But yeah,
that's serious. That is serious.
Yeah, it was wild, but yeah.
Well, let me ask, what advice do you have for aspiring voiceover, artists who want to be like you?
Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing that I would say, I don't know, there isn't really a biggest thing. It's weird because like, I don't know. I feel like all the times when people are stuff, they're looking for like, what's the secret? What's like the key to get into the Forbidden City? Like that kind of thing. And it's like, there isn't one. There isn't really one. It's the biggest thing. Actually, one of the things that I would say that co-ops with that is, this career is not about, like, the thing I see kill careers more often than anything, more than a lack of talent, more than a lack of drive, is a lack of patience. I see that kill people's careers all the time because either A, things aren't going as fast as they hoped and they give up, or B, things aren't going as fast as they hoped, so they get a little too aggressive with their marketing and they start scaring people, and then people don't want to.
Okay.
Like, those are like the 2 things that happen. But yeah, I think the biggest thing I would say is just it takes a long time. It's, if you want this, I remember hearing somebody said it was like an overnight success takes 10 years to make. And I mean, I'm kind of living proof of that, because most of y'all hadn't heard of me until Sam came out. And by the time Sam came out, I'd already been doing this for 12 and a half years. So, and like, I have a resume and stuff behind that, but like, in terms of like the role that like showed up, like exposed you to the public, like that's the first one that really did that. But yeah, it's just take your time, work at it, practice, get good at it. Take a lot of courses with a lot of different types of coaches, because there is no one right way to build a performance. Everybody has their own process, everybody has their own method, everybody's story is different. I know some people, like me personally, I'm a very fast auditioner. I tend to move pretty quick. I just do a basic read of the script, get a good idea of the script analysis, try a few ideas, and then send off the first few. The reason why I do that is because if I do it for too long, I'm going to start overthinking it, and that's going to become a problem. There are other people that I know that are just as successful as me, so in some cases even more so, that are like meticulous fucking planners. Like they'll take over an hour on an audition because they want to look at every single angle that they could possibly take it. And which one of those approaches is correct? They both kind of are. It just depends on which one works best for you. So yeah, it's just, the biggest thing I would say is there is no big thing, and just keep working at it. Stay patient, stay perseverant. My motto in my head when I was starting off was, okay, if I do this long enough, eventually you get to a point where everybody else around you just kind of starts to leave and quit. So, because eventually if you just have the most drive, you'll just be in the game. Like, so yeah, so I'll sorry, I'm rambling, but I'll say this. It's fuck, I lost my train of thought. But
listen, I'm neurodivergent. I do the same thing. It's fine.
Yeah, no. But it's just stay patient, stay perseverant, stay working at it, keep going, and just keep building. It takes time. That's the biggest thing. Is it takes time, and don't expect to just have it all right away. There are the people that get it super quick and have their job, have their big break when they're in their early 20s, maybe even late teens. There are also some people who don't get that until they're in their 40s. It's all over the place. So yeah, you never know which one, how things are going to go for you until you. So yeah.
And I hear that because I've had moments and peers within the content creation space who have taken off, like a rocket. And I was like, man, we were at the same, I guess you could say level. But there's some other things at play. I have kids. That kind of slowed me down at some points. I have to spend time with my wife where she gets mad, and that's very fair. But I always try to say I remember my mission and I remember my grind. There have been some key moments where I've gotten big bursts in my community. There was a content creator named Soft Willie who found me on Twitch and was trolling one day, but he put me in a video, and then that blew me up by 5,000 followers because people were like, oh, this guy's cool. Yeah. So that was a cool moment. Or Honkai Star Rail. I say this game changed my life.
I mean, I could probably say the same for myself.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's amazing from the community, getting to know, you guys, some of the voice actors, and your generosity, and just working with Hoyoverse, because we have a bit of a partnership going on there. So it's just been phenomenal from so many different sides. All of this has just been, I say, a charmed life. You know what I mean? And, I'm not the biggest, baddest content creator, but your words definitely stuck with me because there's room for me to grow, and I just have to stay with it to see the other side.
Oh yeah, and it's there are always those career where you're just I don't know, I'll just be upfront and very vulnerable at this point right now. Last year, around the beginning of the year, was I wouldn't say I actually came close to quitting, but it was the most just that I ever was. I just felt really apathetic about the career. Everything was just kind of the same. I was just kind of going through the motions. And I remember it was one big thing that kind of changed all of that. It was a buddy of mine was producing a play for the Hollywood Fringe Festival. And it was a play called Stuck. It was about a couple that worked at Disneyland that got stuck on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and breaks up on the ride. So that was the plot of the play. And I auditioned for it, and I booked the guy and the couple. And it's just sometimes you need to shake things up to get that drive back, because that gave me so much fire that I just didn't have in such a long time. And I will tell you right now, the audition for Sam went out while we were working on the play. So like if I hadn't worked on that play, I might not be here on this interview right now. Like, I'm just saying that right now. So, because yeah, it's wild. You know, like you're gonna have those low points, but you just got to keep going because the high points are so, like, yeah.
Well, listen. Very thankful, for you, your performance, your energy. I'm loving the energy, we're getting from you. You definitely are a valued member of the community. Let me ask, what would you like to plug? Where can we find you?
So you could find me, Twitter, TikTok. I actually started using TikTok more while it still is legal in the U.S.
Interesting times.
But write your congressperson. Nah, but
it's my main platform, so I'm like, but
yeah, no. I feel that. It's like now it's starting to grow for me, and I'm just. It was funny actually. The person who kind of like. We were chatting about this like before Sam had come out, but it was like I was chatting with Alejandro Saab, like because we get coffee together.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, great fucking guy for the record. Like, yeah, like super fun dude. Is just as passionate in real life as he is on streams, by the way, just for the record. But
awesome.
But I remember like he was like talking about like, yeah, like, do these, like if you try these things, I have to do these things, like your stuff, and I'm just like, I think I'm gonna try that, and it's worked out really well. But so anyway, enough of that plugging stuff. I'm at Adin Rudd, ADINRU, basically everywhere, on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. I'm twitch.tv/Adin Rudd. I have been streaming more because Star Rail's been really fun to stream. Although I think we were talking at the beginning, like got on, it was like that first part of 2.1 is really dialogue heavy, so I had like nothing to do on stream for just that chunk. But it's been really fun to do it. So so anything, just ADINRUDD, all one word, you should be able to find me basically. So
well, listen, I am very thankful for you. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out here, guys. What an absolute, let's see, got you right here. What an absolute legend this man is. Storied catalog, generosity, intensity brought to the role. Please follow him, appreciate his performance, and thank you guys for being here. But remember, stay fierce, keep gaming, and welcome to the House of Hounds.
Catch you later.